First of all, I always start by saying thank you, God. I have to be thankful. You know, I know as it's hard to be thankful, especially when with me, I hear these perps, tell me what saying all these things that I'm gonna go through. Let me just start by saying I'm a target individual, but I'm a target individual who deal with V2K synthetic telepathy. So a lot of the same old things happens to me, and the patterns are so obvious. It's clearly a system here. This is clearly like a machine that does things in this systematic way. It's insane. The thing is, you don't need to be some kind of analyst to see a pattern here. It's just in your face. It's obvious. I mean, it's just there's tactics that they just do things like that's just similar that a lot of target individuals bring up. And you find out as soon as you start like hearing testimonials, you realize, oh my gosh, it's eerie how similar things are. Then you realize, okay, but that means there's like a system. There's like a systematic aspect of how they torture us target individual. So I'm a target individual dealing with V2K, and obviously the gang stalking and all that. But now that's a little bit more obsolete in the sense that it doesn't impact me as much as the V2K and synthetic telepathy and the direct energy, obviously, that damaging my body. But with me, in a lot of my videos, I've been putting the fact that they do things where they want it to be painted, or let me just say this better, they want it to be perceived as, and who's they, these perps, who's doing that, who's participating doing that to me. Obviously, this is a governmental program, but they throw us a bunch of nobodies that try to disorient you and break you down. Who I interact with, who does this V2K, they clearly don't know the nobodies. You cannot, you understand that there is some kind of layers and hierarchy, and who I hear, who interacts with me are nothings. They're the bottom feeders in this whole thing. You can tell, like, it doesn't take a genius. And these people have made me feel like a genius because they do so much to try to, like, disorient me and recreate reality in such a idiotic way that it takes the bare minimum common sense. I mean, extreme level of very, very minimal common sense to see what's happening. It is extremely easy. I mean, beyond easy to see through what they're doing. And they put so much effort to recreate reality. And I'm like, are you guys like me at this point or just yourself? Because this is as obvious as it gets. It is scary obvious. And sometimes I'm like, I think they're doing it for themselves to stay in character. This is clearly a governmental program, extremely obvious. It's a program that is doing so much horrible things, and so obvious who he does it to. So many defenseless women, children dying. Like this is diabolical at a level of like biblical level. That's like third world atrocities with next level advanced technology. And the theatrics and the psychological game is so obvious. For me, it's been like that. There's been a high volume of V2K that are female sounding individual. And so they really wanted to push this like facade, which apparently this is one of the most common facade. I was supposed to think that this is a bunch of like, this is like a program ran by this bunch of female gendered individuals who are just like avenging and justice seekers. And they would try to bring up whatever they could to make themselves look like they're just avenging and just a rage. And they'll bring up whatever things I've done to try to, or even exaggerate a bunch of it. And act so enraged. And then it got really awkward. Because it was a matter of time to find out that, oh, you guys are doing all these terrible things to women. But the worst part is this pattern starts just scary. One pattern you're going to hear here is a lot of female gender target, a lot of female TI mentioned there's a disproportionate amount of female participant when it comes to V2K, or like the gaslighting aspect of it. There's a lot of female participants. And the reason why is because this female participant, especially when it comes to other female TI, those female participants are those who are supposed to normalize things, gaslight them, basically normalize whatever is happening to this woman as if it's normal. It's kind of similar to what they're doing with me, but in a different aspect too. So with female TI, apparently this female participant are supposed to be just like they're supposed to be betraying this female TI, because as a female you want to there's like a like you want to protect your own, right? Sympathy, understanding that you're a vulnerable woman and you see vulnerable women being tortured, you want to help them, right? So by using female participants, it seems like what they're doing is they want the female TI to be like, we're not going to help you because you deserve it. Because what's happened to you, you deserve that happen to you. Like it's normal, it's happening to you. Like you're shit, you're nothing, because you're a bad person. Like the female aspect of it, the female facade helps do that with female TI. Psychological game. And so female TI calls out there's a disproportionate amount of female participant. Even when they come, they even mention that there's like what's the word I should say? Facilitation. Female perps facilitate the rapes of female TI. They help that to be happening. They orchestrate it, or at least they make it look like they're orchestrating it. It is disgusting. Now with me, this trash around me, wanting to, the facade was like almost like a Kill Bill, like hero, female hero, like fierce badass they wanted to present to me. When in reality there's some trashy low life involving program where so many women are being tortured and tormented. But on top of that, there's a bunch of female like them, this trash, facilitating their rapes, their torture, their sufferance, all kind of disgusting things. Gaslighting them as well after they get raped, try to gaslight them to make it seem like nothing happened, like they didn't get raped, refusing them rape kits as doctors, female doctors involve themselves in their nurses. This trash around here, no matter what gender they are, they're involved in a program that does disgusting things, but thinking that your gender will cover up the fact that you're involved in that, and then being humiliated that actually your gender is one of the biggest facilitator of what's happening to these women. I'll put that in their faces. Disgusting trash. I detest this trash. So for me, sometimes every once in a while they kind of bring more male perps, but that makes it even more obvious, because okay, well, that fits just like what this is supposed to be, a program that tortures children, women, and men. Basically, what I'm understanding here is female participation is there to kind of camouflage the horror, normalize the horror, even toward women and children. They're basically the trash that's supposed to make that look like it's normal. They're basically there to silence the voices of these women. It's so disgusting. But for women, they try to play such fierce things like you're a bunch of low-life coward fuckers, opportunists who don't want to be accountable for being involved in a program where you know so many women are tortured, and you know some of these trash are doing that to me. Just even those female participants have done that to women. They just love the fact they're involved in a program where there's so much empowerment in the sense of what they can do to us. For example, as I'm making this video, I feel my guts just doing something happening to my guts to the point where I feel fragile and weak and frail. That's what they love about this. And so they don't care if it's happening to women, they participate in that. So, but for me, when I see them, when they try to present themselves in whatever fashion, I'm like, you bunch of low-life trash. For all the women who've killed themselves in this program, I'm not going to let some disgusting trash like you. And it's funny how they tell me, you're going to be killed, you're going to be tortured. It's like, God, give me strength. I'm not scared of death. But the reason why I didn't kill myself yet is because I heard testimonials of women. And they gave me strength. But I know there's so many who've killed themselves, inclusive of a lot of female TI. So to this trash watching me, living their fantasy and doing it, it's so disgusting with me because I put that in their faces. It's provoking. They were supposed to be this group of like a channel of like, and this is the things they've been telling me, target vigil. They're gonna try to confuse you and disorient you to make you believe that this is anything but a massive government. However they present. Sometimes they try to present themselves as like a cult or this and that. It's just a bunch of gimmick facades. Matter of fact, there's a woman, her name is Katrina. A lot of facilitated rapes have happened to her. She believes that who runs this, and they make her believe that it's like a ritual abuse kind of thing happening to her. But it's clearly she understands this is the government, so she's like confused into like, oh, it's the government, but mixed with a cult of ritual abuse thing. When in reality, it's just the government applying these terrible things to her, and she thinks that who runs what's happened to her are female. That's what you're seeing here. But she's not the only one. There's a lot of testimonials or a lot of mention, especially when you look up. So I've been using ChatGPT to synthesize the information of target vigil, basically summarize and concise things together. So I ask ChatGPT, so how common is it to hear target vigil who are female mentioning a lot female participant? And it seems like this disproportionate amounts leaning toward female perps when it comes to the gaslighting, the V2K. It's like they don't do the hands-on torture, as in they don't attack the women directly. They use this technology, but they do the gaslighting. They do the normalizing of their torture. And so for me, when I hear this trash and I hear this trash thinking that their gender was going to cover up reality, it makes me even hate them more. Because for all the women and children suffering this program, I will not allow them to live this fantasy. And so for me, what's happening is they tell me they're going to do all this insane torture to like compensate for the validation that they are involved in a program where they torture a lot of women, and female participation is high when it comes to torturing female TI. Facilitating rapes of women in this program. So for me, they're like, yeah, we're gonna facilitate. We're gonna gift you. It's like, you mean you're gonna facilitate rapes? How rare. They're like, yeah, we're gonna gift you. It's gonna be a gift. It's like, you are involved in a program where you facilitate rapes of women. You gift women to be raped. And I'm going to put that in your face. It's so disgusting because we made they try to use this like fierceness and there's like this cowardness. So there's a bunch of pattern that's been destroying them. Like I said, with me, because I put that pattern in their faces of like, clearly you gift women in that sense that you facilitate their rape for the psychological breakdown. They facilitate these women to be in position of vulnerability where men raped them. And this other pattern, they love to harm the genitals. I've noticed that early on. As soon as I started listening to testimonies like genital this, they burn my genitals, they say they trick you my genitals, they do this to my genitals, they do this in genitals, and most of the time it's women saying that. They give me pain in the genitals. They're cutting the inside of my genitals. They make me bleed from my genitals. Always genital attacks mentioned. Matter of fact, even in this lawsuit, the Target Justice versus Garland that was filed in 2023, a few plaintiffs called out burn of genitals and feet, which also I keep hearing feet and genitals being something they like to do things to, but genitals especially. It keeps coming back. So, a pattern of high level of participants who are female, a pattern of genital harm, even children, you're going to hear. Burning genitals, electrocuting genitals, and even for men, women, and children. It comes back over and over. You're going to hear children grabbing, clutching themselves in pain. Genitals. A woman who can't use the restroom properly because genital torture. Genitals. A woman claiming she thinks the government is burning her genitals. Genitals. In the lawsuit, the plaintiff saying they're burning my feet and genitals. A woman who say that she feels pain in the genital area and rectum area. These things comes over and over and over. Another thing, this discussing manipulation of the libido and the pedophilia type of torture. There's something with the pedophilia type of torture and pedophilia type of defamation. I keep hearing that over and over, that they try to paint the target individual in such a way. You're going to hear this woman saying that in the lawsuit, this is the lawyer who was part of the lawsuit that unfortunately was dismissed because of, obviously, you're going to sue the government. It's not going to work out. But they pushed it all the way to at least go to some kind of Supreme Court, which is enough to bring awareness. And she's having this interview with this guy. It's like, hey, which they were trying to change this, and she calls out, there's this thing with painting target individual as pedophile. As in, it's a pattern. And on top of that, there is a pattern, and this is you're going to hear from this man who, rest in peace, Robert Duncan, interview 1,000 target individuals, and say almost all of them mention implanting child porn-like imaginations in somebody's brain. Out of 1,000 target individuals, almost all of them. And then there's other testimonials of women or other target individuals say they do this pedophilia type of torture and discussing thoughts. And you're going to even hear this guy who, he said the exact same thing I said. They put these disgusting thoughts. And when you say that to a target individual, they know exactly what it means. They do the thought, this disgusting thought that are pedophilia-centric. In the video, you're going to watch this man say the same thing, and we all know what he means, because I said the same thing when I made my first video. They do this thing systematically. So going back to the pattern, high volume of female participants, pattern of harming genitals, pedophilia type of defamation, and tortures. You're going to hear that. They do this. The other stuff, which for me, I'm finding out that is a pattern, but I don't know if it's as strong as a pattern as the three things I just said. It's the framing. For me, they tell me gonna frame you in different fashion, but I found out because I looked at, I talked when I search on ChatGPT, as I'm saying that they try to mess with me and try to create reality. They implant child porn. And they've been telling me that they're going to do that with me. And ChatGPT brings up that there's a bunch of testimonials of women, or not a bunch, but some target individuals who are female, say that they've been saying or implanting child porn on their devices. Another apparently thing they do. Now, I don't know if it's a pattern in a sense. Maybe compared to the other three things, it's not that much of a pattern, but they've done that to others. A female target individual have called it out too. With me, what they're doing is to try to like make me accept this thing. They make me think of like back and it's so disgusting how these retards use stupidity as a weapon. Make me think of, no, there's the Warstar. If you don't know Warstar Hip Hop, go through watch the Warstar Hip Hop. It's a very, 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 especially in 2008, 2007, 2009 era. It was one of the most popular urban website. And there was like this video that was on Warstar Hip Hop that ended up not showing up. And I looked it up, tried to find it, never found it. And they tried to make me imagine, oh, you see, it's like, I never seen this thing. And it was on the Warstar, one of the most popular website for urban. But these people don't have shame. You can put reality in their faces, they will continuously try to fight it. And so the gaslighting, I think they gaslight themselves, because this implantation of child porn is so disgusting. But to add a layer to that, to add a cherry on top of everything, to understand that the entities behind this program have issue with child porn. And I could always bring up this S1413 bill that was introduced in 2019, because there was this issue with the Department of Defense with child porn and trafficking so much child porn and being ranked top tier regard child porn trafficking. And to understand the entities but above all this, not this loserness that's out here throwing at us to do these things to us, are so pedophilia centric that child porn has been such an issue that bills were created to try to limit that. And these clowns involved in a program where implanting child porn is something they do. As you're going to hear, it's disgusting. That's why in my videos I start off by saying, thank you, God. And they try to sound fierce doing that. You're going to hear these women saying they like to implant child porn. Or that there is this thing that's happened, these claims from female target individual saying that they are implanting illegal pornographic image. But with me, they're like, no, we're doing that because we're fierce. No, you're doing that because you're involved in a program where things like that happens. That you do these things. And in a program where there's patterns that a lot of female participants like you are involved in doing that to women. Where there's a pattern of genital torture and pedophilia-centric type of defamation. But with me, they were supposed to come up with this like, now we're different, we're this and that. And another pattern, a lot of young individuals participate. From young adult to teenage trash. Another very, 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 very common pattern, neighbors participating. Very community participation, very common. These people do everything the same with me and still expect me to look at them in this different way. What's is so pattern like? Listen, the neighbors and participation, even teenage. There's a man called Steve Marlowe that you're gonna hear. A target individual. Because he believed his neighbors were participating in this, he killed 4 of them. From a 15-year-old to an 82-year-old man. That's how much of a pattern this thing is. Listen to these things. I'm so thankful that I didn't even get the option to be involved in this nastiness. But I will never allow this low life live this fantasy. This trash wanted me to be like, no, we're just different polo, and they try to sound fierce. No, you're involved in a program where toddlers are being tortured. And torture in this disgusting ways, in some cases targeting and harming the genitals. Bunch of low-life trash. They've been exposed to be involved in something that tortured the most vulnerable, torturing women, targeting the genitals, using womanliness, or genderism, I should say, as a way to gaslight target individual to accept this thing. Disgusting trash. For me, for all those women who ended up killing themselves, for all these children that have been tortured, from sexual torture to whatever other torture. If this trash do this thing in front of me, I know what I have to do. They'll be accountable for what they're part of. So the patterns that makes it easy to figure out what they're doing, but these perps continuously do the same thing. For example, right now they just did this thing where they start making me have these thoughts. Right, it started off sexual thoughts with me and the woman I've been with, and I know where it's going. They do the same thing. The best part about, well, not the best part, the obvious part about this whole thing is they're very systematic, and it's so obvious. You see where things are gonna go, but sometimes they surprise you with how stupid it gets and disgusting at the same time. They make me imagine me with a woman that I've been with, and make me imagine sexual experiences with her. It keeps going on and on and on. I know it's them forcing me to think this way. Now, this is not something that's breaking me down, but it's not breaking me as in, it's not tormenting. It doesn't break me down. Like, it's just not something that is degrading, but it's degrading because I know where it's going to go next. And they do the same thing. So start with a woman. They make you imagine these sexual things with her. And then with this happening, there's like background noise because there's something on TV or whatever I'm watching, and there's like, you can hear the background of children making noise. And it times with at the same time that you're listening to this, at the same time that those thoughts are implanted in your brain with this woman. But then it continues, and then they love to do this rewiring, shifting your thought into something else, and it's quick and disturbing usually. And as you're gonna hear in this video, this pattern of rewiring your mind and playing with your thoughts, you're gonna hear that. It's like it's ventriloquism of thought manipulation. And so that's where the flip becomes disturbing. They start first of all making me kind of stupid, but meant to distract me so they can plan the most degrading stuff. They start making me imagine a fight scene of animation, like anime, like the cartoon movies, and then revert back to like me imagining with a woman I was with, but now changing that woman to be a child laying there. It was so disgusting, and thus had to just rewire out of nowhere. And then they have this teenage trash, these next door neighbors that's supposed to gaslight you with noise campaign and all that you're going to hear, and wanting you to act like they just wanting you to think that this is just something they just observed, that this is not literally this ventriloquism like thought manipulation. They do the same things over and over. This is not like a surprise. This is what they do. I expect that every time they start making me think of a woman, I know at some point it's going to shift into some child. That's what they do. And then they're like, yeah, we got you. It's like, this is what you guys do. This is why this man killed neighbors. And by the way, guess who's making noise campaign? Next door neighbors. He was so tormented by the way he was being manipulated that he killed from 15-year-old to 82-year-old neighbors. We're talking about patterns. It's insane. And it's funny with them. They have these ways of being childish, like, nah, that's not pattern. like what's happening is a pattern. Like what these thoughts that they're not manipulating, but just observing. And they really want me to let them think that way, even with the validation of a mass shooter who wrote a whole manifesto and pre-recorded video before he killed 4 people. Now, I know what I said. If you are involved in that, you will not even try to gaslight anybody. At this point, it's just too obvious, especially when you're going to hear. But these people think they can override reality. So that's why you can understand that things go left in this situation. That's where people end up getting hurt. And you're going to hear there's a lot of teen participant in this. And this teen participant think that the good nature of you will not do anything because these are teenagers doing that. No, not even doing that, participant that. They want you to think it's them, but it's obviously this governmental program, which you're going to hear. They're going to try to make you believe that this is anything but a massive government. But this teenage trash think that people will get tortured and not do or react. Hence, this is what happened to Steve Marlowe. He ended up actually shooting the crap out of a 15-year-old girl in her own kitchen. But it's clear. With me, this is why I say thank you, God, because this thing I just described in regard of how they manipulate thoughts in these ways and still try to gaslight you. You should hear how they love this thing. They feel it's like they flourish in this disgustingness where pedophilia is quite the tool utilized here to break people down. And to be honest, the reason why I say thank you, God, is because I know to be participating that you didn't. It's not like a very selective aspect of thing. They want all kind of people participating in that. So, from the most unimpressive to the most impressive, they welcome them all to participate. And I know that when I hear this clown talking, I'm like, oh, you just love the fact that you can do this kind of or participate in something where this kind of manipulation can be applied onto a human being. You feel godly. You should hear them talk to me via V2K. As mentioned, mostly female gender, just like what you're gonna hear. But they want to sound menacing when most of them, I don't even think they're fully adult. Or a lot of them are not fully adult, or even those who are adults start sounding like childish individual who wants to sound menacing. So what you're going to see here is a few things I want to make sure I bring up. First of all, starting off that female participation seems to be quite high, especially when it comes to V2K and this like non-direct kind of attacks and gaslighting. And you're going to hear that it's like they use this female kind of facade to gaslight, to torment the target individual in regard of like make them acceptive of what's happening to them. Acceptive as if this is not manipulation, acceptive as if what's happening to them should make sense, acceptive in a different way. And you're going to hear other target individual who are female who calls that out. And with me it's the same. For example, right now I'm hearing some clown female like individual talking to me via V2K. But now, because I bring that in their faces, start every once in a while to bring on some clown grown men. This is so disgusting. Thank God. Actually, it makes more sense why they go toward utilizing female individual to participate in this V2K, especially when it is applied onto other women. So you're gonna hear that common thing where female participation is quite high when it comes to this V2K gaslighting methods, especially toward other women. Then you're going to hear the genital tortures. You're going to hear women talking about burning, having their genital burn, having their genital electrocuted, all kind of genital, rectum, private part area torture, inclusive of also children being tortured in the same fashion. Then you're gonna hear, thought manipulation, which is very, common, extremely common, claim from target individual, to the point where you're gonna hear Steve Marlowe, a man who ended up killing the next door neighbor. You're gonna start hearing that, and then hear his recording and why he believed, why he did what he did to end up even killing next door neighbors. At 15 to From 15-year-old to 82-year-old, all neighbors. Then you're gonna hear men describing the thought manipulation, the disgusting manipulation, and he's gonna say something at the end like, what kind of thoughts would they force us to have target individual. This is the disgusting, pedophilia centric, disturbing nastiness that they use to break us down. Then you're gonna see a video that you've seen a lot, the typical V2K type of torment tortures, that inclusive of this pedophilia centric tortures and
female TIs say versus what they do not consistently say. Do female TIs generally claim a high percentage of female perpetrators? Yes. Many female TIs perceive women as highly involved, but not usually as the primary physical aggressors. Their narratives more often describe women as disproportionately involved in gaslighting, normalization, facilitation, and denial of direct violence. This results in strong distrust toward other women, as reported by the TIs themselves. How female TIs describe women's participation, their claims. 1. Women as normalizers rather than attackers. Female TIs often say women minimize or reframe harm as stress, misunderstanding, or internal distress, present calm, professional explanations that close discussion, redirect focus from consent or harm to coping or insight. They frequently say, open quote, men do the damage, women make it disappear, close quote. 2. High visibility in authority and care roles. They report frequent interaction with women in roles such as healthcare and mental health providers, social workers, advocates, case managers, supervisors, HR, educators, shelter or support service staff. Because these roles involve credibility and gatekeeping, female TIs interpret women's responses as decisive. 3. Consensus building. A recurring claim is that multiple women across different settings respond similarly. Similar phrasing or logic is repeated. Disagreement by the TI is framed as instability. This creates the belief of, open quote, a female consensus against me, close quote. 4. Procedural and moral gatekeeping. They say women decline to document allegations, discourage escalation for your own good, emphasize rules, scope, or criteria. Female TIs experience this as, open quote, protection of the system, not me, close quote. 5. Subtle social signaling. They often describe looks, tone, pauses, silence, indirect judgment rather than confrontation, timing that feels coordinated. This subtlety is interpreted as intentional gaslighting. Trust-based vulnerability. Some claim women encouraged vulnerability or reduced vigilance, framed fear as overreaction, reassured them before perceived harm. Later distress leads them to reinterpret this as facilitation. 7. Why distrust centers on women TI reasoning. Female TIs often say dismissal from women feels more shaming. Women's denial makes others less likely to believe abuse. Women's involvement makes the narrative socially safe to ignore. They may say, open quote, if women say it didn't happen, no one listens, close quote.
She's gonna get shot in the face. Sound like an angry ass old person. Then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Gonna get shot in the face. Stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the Voice of Skull, it's a bunch of females.
And went to bed. I had all, and they had relatively high floor, and they had all of a sudden I had been there like 4 or 5 days, and the night before I was attacked really bad. I noticed a maintenance man about 10 or 11 o'clock at night messing with all of the lights up and down the hallway. And as I'm sorry, I get kind of upset when I think about this because it's really messed up. And my spidey sense went off, and I was really kind of nervous about like what the hell he was doing out there, because he he was kind of a sinister, he was real creepy kind of person. So the next night, I believe it was a Friday night, I went to bed. I had all of the doors, all the locks on the door, even the one that kind of like goes over that you can't open from the outside. I had everything locked up. Figured I was safe. I went to bed maybe about 1 o'clock in the morning. I woke up about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, bleeding out of every hole, sick. Someone was in my room, or had been in my room. Food was missing. My dogs were traumatized. I had been obviously sexually assaulted uh, in all the worst ways possible. I got up, first thing I did was vomit. And all I wanted to do was I was just in shock. There was a do not disturb sign on my door, and I didn't do this. And there was lotion all over my bathroom floor. All I wanted to do was just get on a plane and get the hell away from everybody. And I was, very, very sick and in a lot of pain. I had already been denied a rape kit when I owned my house, and woke up, and my hair had obviously been pulled out and there were earplugs in my bed. And I felt like someone had done something. I went to Palos Community Hospital, um, under the directions of a non-compromised police officer who told me that if anything happened, to go right to the hospital. So I did. And I had a compromised doctor who treated me like a third-rate citizen and said she would give me an STD test and a drug test. But she refused me a rape kit. And
Below is a claim-only answer, paraphrased, non-graphic, and non-endorsing, reflecting what some female-targeted individuals say. I'll be precise and careful given the sensitivity. Do female TIs claim that female perpetrators purposely show their children to create manipulation? Yes, some female TIs do make this claim, but it is uncommon and appears primarily in high distress or late-stage narratives. How this claim is described, TI perspective only. Female TIs who report this say they believe that, 1, children are used symbolically, not directly. They claim the presence of children is intentional, timed to coincide with the TI's distress, meant to provoke shame, confusion, or moral distress. They do not usually describe direct actions involving children, but rather, open quote, children being presented, visible, or brought into proximity, close quote. The purpose is psychological pressure. They believe the intent is to intensify humiliation, force intrusive thoughts, create moral conflict, make the TI feel exposed or judged. They frame it as, open quote, manipulation of perception, not harm to the child, close quote. Ha3, female perpetrators are emphasized. In these claims, the involvement of women is highlighted because female presence is believed to amplify shame. Maternal or caregiving roles make the situation feel morally loaded. It feels socially validating of the negative narrative. They may say, open quote, a woman doing this makes it feel intentional, close quote.
The worst breakdowns, and it's pretty common. I think I can say the word simulated rape, and forced orgasm.
You can say anything you want. This is the internet.
Okay. And so simulated orgasms and rape is extremely common, and especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most.
What I'm feeling when I went to my doctor, the response was, how do I know you didn't do that to yourself? How do you even address that? I've passed 2 psychological evaluations, not 1 but 2. The one physician said, you're mentally sound as a bell. He said, I don't have any idea what's going on with you. When I go to sleep, when I go to try to sleep, I feel like I'm being lit up like a Christmas tree. I feel every cell in my body just bouncing out of my body. I can't even describe it. I get electric shock of my rectum.
Retired security administrator, Ms. McDavid's reputation was used to implement this non-consensual biotechnology application that is being used on me. I now experience involuntary limb movements. I receive stingings. I get pains to my head, to my abdomen, to my vaginal area, and to my anal area.
Various body parts, specifically in a sexual way. The severe vibration is a highly noxious stimuli and is very intolerable. They sometimes do pulses or throbbing sensations on the genitals too, etc. There are also body movements such as rocking my pelvic area back and forth, repeated rubbing sensations, the sensation of something going up my crotch and in and out, etc. They also often force vaginal discharges and zap my genitals at the same time. These sexual assaults are present throughout the day, every day, and anytime I am awakened at night, every night. They range from mild to extreme, but usually involve daily and nightly continuous assaults for the past 3 years now. When severe, the zaps to the genitals feel as though someone is electrocuting my genitals repeatedly. I also experience what is referred to as malo. Anything electronic. They have even locked me out of my office building that uses an electronic key. It is often very difficult and an immense battle just to even sit on the toilet to go to the bathroom. Not only because of the bowel and bladder manipulation, but also because of the frequent severe sexual assaults on the genitals, my butt and anus, shaking, vibrating.
I'm called a targeted individual, but the abuse last night was pretty extreme. I can feel it's going to be the same again today. Already on the harming of the private parts of my body. I don't really know what to do. I tried to go to a doctor to get some kind of pain medicine because what actually happens to me, what is happening to me is my actual physical body is being burned. And so it causes me to go into shock and it's excruciatingly painful. And I have my limitations on the duration and length of pain that I can handle. So it was a couple of weeks ago, I asked him what he was doing there, and he said that I needed to stay in my room. And I asked why, and he said that essentially they wanted to keep an eye on me for a while. And I was like, okay, for how long? And he was like, well, we haven't decided that yet. And I was like, all right, well, I'm leaving. But it definitely felt like if I talk about what's happening to me, that I'm being retaliated against. And I know the logical mind is like, well, everyone can't be involved. But it seems that, I don't know, if the government has the right to watch and the proper paperwork, just walk right in and take over a hospital. And it seems that that is a very real reality in a lot of capacities of the things that I faced. So today, just kind of just feeling some pretty general fear about my own safety. because the government's burning the private parts of my body. Noon yet here, and all of that today, this morning. It's like not even noon yet here, and already I'm experiencing the pain and the harm to my body, to the private parts of my body.
Yes, here's a filing-grounded, reportive case file summary of Devin Delaney Fraley and HF, with specific places you can verify each point in the accessible appellate petition materials, which reproduce key parts of the operative complaint. I'm going to rely most heavily on the Supreme Court appendix because it includes the relevant complaint excerpts verbatim, including the Fraley HF paragraphs, and is publicly accessible. 1. Where Fraley and HF appear across the litigation record. A district court complaint excerpts in the Supreme Court appendix. The Supreme Court appendix contains the complaint section titled Devin Delaney Fraley and the follow-on paragraphs about HF starting immediately after that heading. B. Fifth Circuit Appeal, March 8, 2024. The Fifth Circuit opinion caption lists Devin Delaney Fraley and HF among the plaintiff's appellants. Notably, it labels JD and LM as a minor, but does not print a minor after HF in that caption line. C. Supreme Court Petition, July 23, 2024. The petition's petitioner list includes Devin Delaney Fraley and then separately lists HF a minor. It also includes a note explaining that after an amended complaint was filed, the minor daughter of petitioner Fraley was added as a claimant. Number 2, Fraley's allegations, what she claims happened to her. In the complaint excerpt, as reproduced in the appendix, Fraley alleges in substance she was nominated included in a TSDB subcategory, NS McCarthy blacklist, without notice and without an opportunity to rebut. She alleges she has suffered physical, electronic surveillance and organised stalking as part of being targeted. She alleges that around 2016, her targeting increased and she began experiencing artificial tinnitus and V2K continuously. She alleges directed energy weapon, DW attacks causing burns, including to her feet and genital area. She alleges the DW attacks caused symptoms she characterises as indicative of Havana syndrome, described as permanent brain and physical injuries. She alleges social, professional, personal repercussions, including suffering, anxiety and loss, and requests remedies including removal from the TSDB and damages. That is the core Fraley-specific symptom set and theory as pled in the excerpted complaint text. 3. HF's allegations, what Fraley claims happened to the child. In the same reproduced complaint excerpt, the filing describes HF as Fraley's daughter and a toddler, specifically referred to as 3-year-old. The text uses 3-year-old daughters, but the context is HF as the single minor plaintiff child. The allegations about the child's symptoms are described as, after the filing of the complaint, HF allegedly began showing signs of DVTK, and because she is incapable of verbalizing, Fraley says she inferred symptoms through behavioral changes, including irritability, slamming her head against the floor, extremely high body temperature upon waking, among others. The allegations about ongoing harm include alleged irritability, anguish, sweating, pain, and suffering every day, with asserted unknown damages to the child's developing brain. The allegations about why the child is in the case include the complaint excerpt alleges the defendants added HF to the TSDB in retaliation for her mother being a plaintiff, emphasizing the child's toddler status and asserted lack of any basis for being treated as a threat. 4. Procedural posture as it relates to them, how later filings frame it. The Fifth Circuit opinion describes the plaintiffs collectively as alleging being targeted and injured with directed energy weapons and voice-to-skull technology, and it addresses jurisdiction procedural issues around dismissal and preliminary injunction, not individualized facts per plaintiff. The Supreme Court petition reiterates the case history and notes
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions. I observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe
and have had
careful and transparent without endorsing the claims or adding detail beyond what is already publicly reported. I also need to stay within safety boundaries regarding minors, so I will describe what mothers say in non-graphic terms, exactly as the claims are typically stated. Clear answer first, yes. In public TI narratives, some mothers explicitly claim that they have witnessed children showing acute distress involving their genital area, clutching themselves, crying or screaming, marks, redness or heat-associated skin changes noticed during diaper changes or bathing, pain reactions that the mother interprets as external harm rather than routine irritation or illness. These claims are unverified, not supported by medical or legal findings, and rejected by courts when raised in lawsuits, but they are described by the mothers as real, alarming and urgent. I am reporting what is claimed, not asserting causation or accuracy. How these claims are usually described, non-graphic, verbatim style. Across videos, letters and testimony shared online, mothers often say things like, "My child was screaming and holding themselves like they were in pain. I noticed redness or marks that felt hot to the touch. This wasn't diaper rash, it appeared suddenly. My child reacted like they were being burned. They cried in a way I'd never heard before. Doctors didn't find anything, but I know what I saw." Some mothers emphasize the timing felt sudden, the child couldn't explain what was wrong, the mother felt panic, guilt and fear. Again, this is their interpretation of what they observed. How common are these child-focused claims? Sally Knox, 78, in Daily News. Her daughter, Kayla Anderson, 22, in the Butler town reported. Some details remain unclear or under investigation. What we do know, the incident occurred on August 5th, 2022 in the Butler Township near Dayton, Ohio. Daytonville victims were Sarah Anderson, age 41, Dayton Daily News. Her daughter, Kayla Anderson, age 15, Dayton Daily News. Clyde Knox, age 82. Dayton Daily News, his wife Sally Knox, 78. Dayton Daily News, Marlowe lived nearby with his parents on Haverstraw Avenue and the victims were his neighbours. Dayton Daily News, police found the victims fatally shot at multiple crime scenes in a residential area. ABC News, in video evidence introduced in court, one scene shows Marlowe walking up with a gun in his hand towards Sarah Anderson, who was on the phone, then shooting her. He walked into the home where Kayla Anderson was and shot her. He then exited via the garage and fired a second shot at Sarah while she was on the ground. WIO TV7 and W8YO Radio. After the shootings, Marlowe fled the state. He was later captured in Kansas. Dayton Daily News. What is not fully clear, the exact motive remains uncertain, though Marlowe's delusional belief system, voices, mind control conspiracies, is heavily referenced in court records. Dayton Daily News, the precise method of how he gained access to each home, whether forced entry, unlocked door, etc., is not fully publicly detailed in the sources I found. The type model of gun used has not been clearly disclosed in the publicly available summary articles. Whether the homes were entered via doors, garages, or other entry points, in all cases, is not fully specified.
I could not have asked for a better family. What you cannot comprehend is that we have been attacked by this weapon our entire lives, and the attack against me personally is one of the most vicious attacks a human being has ever faced. I have tolerated the most inhumane torture in hopes that the FBI and CIA would come to my defense, but they have failed to come to my aid. My only hope is that you come to understand what has happened here. When the world realizes what has happened, there will be justice, but I cannot sit by and be a victim any longer, and I refuse to sit by and do nothing while my nieces and nephews and the rest of my family are operated on with mind control. Our thoughts are not private. It is disgusting and it is cruel. I will be launching the first counterattack against mind control in human history. I want to be very clear, this will not be an active shooting event. I will be executing some of the people responsible for activating shooters. If I happen to survive, please visit me in prison, if only to see the same man you have always known, rather than the victim of some mental disorder that does not exist. What you may not understand is that I will gladly die to expose this, and I will gladly die to help one other victim discover the truth of what has happened. If I can help another targeted individual fight back against telepathy, then the sacrifice will be well worth it. To any TIs who read this, understand that your attackers use the form of ventriloquism I describe in the paper to move your thoughts, but your thoughts can also move their mouths. To my friends in Chicago, Lexington, Dayton, and all over the world, get this email out to everyone you know. The most horrific weapon ever made is being used on human beings, and if you ever learn the truth, you will understand what I did here to protect myself and my family. Get this out to other TIs, other voice hearers, so the world has a chance to fight back.
Thought insertion, memory manipulation, memory insertion. You feel like your mind and your body is not yours, it's just being controlled by some asshole. Your emotions, everything, and you would see that, street theater, noise campaigns, Voice to Skull, they do a pretty good job of intertwining everything. But to an outsider's point of view, they're just gonna see you as fucking crazy. But I'm here to tell you it's happening. And this program is a slow death torture program. Why are we on this program? I still don't know. I have no idea. A lot of smear campaigns, and I'm losing my train of thought right now because I'm just so. You start telling your story to people or whatever, they're not gonna believe you. It's either they're gonna gaslight you or whatever. It means, and I'm losing my train of thought right now because I'm just so freaking sleep deprived. I'm probably gonna make more videos, but no, I'm not. I mean, I'm gonna see how it goes with my fiance, and I'll keep you guys posted. And I'm looking for employment in it, but it's so hard to find employment right now. So hard to find a job. And if you do get a job, they mob you. Workplace mobbing, it's common. I know that it's hard to get a job, but once you get a job, you get mobbed. And the problem is, it's so sophisticated that you start telling your story to people. You do the same shit over and over. Whatever accomplishment. I'm just going on tangents right now. I have no clear outline. All I know is that I gotta make this video. I gotta send it out because I've been waiting for the right moment to make a video on this topic. But there's never gonna be a right moment. Yeah. All I can say that whoever organization is behind this, or whatever criminal governmental organization, it's very, very uniform. Every country you go to, it's the same tactics. That's all I can say. It's very uniform. It's the same tactics everywhere you go. Whatever country you go to, you do the same shit over and over. Whatever accomplishments you have, they'll try and discredit you at everything. Humiliation too. Humiliation. Rituals, whatever. Embarrassment. I have no idea why they do what they do. It's just whatever. And these thoughts, these fucking disgusting ass thoughts. And if you're a target individual, you know what I'm talking about these thoughts that are being fucking inserted into your head. It's disgusting.
You do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War. You can call it a eugenics program even. But also walk them to their... They want to see if they can... Hyper game theory. How do you... They want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't believe that. Well, you can't control me. I have my own free will.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just
It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care.
This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds. And vice versa.
They use these monarch-style torture programs, like it's based on sex and trauma. So they're gonna traumatize you. They're gonna use your libido to get back at you, and
this technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal.
Experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and form of torture. They coordinate the voice. I really mean extreme. I experienced an entire night with forced spontaneous orgasms repeatedly all through the night, one right after another, with maybe around 1 hour of sleep or so, as I lay immobilized in my bed.
In my mind, I can hear my own voice. I told them I'm going to make you pay for all of the years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going to me and my family. Ben said the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ass. So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals. When I aggravated them I able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images and imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
I also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
You might guess that this person developed delusional disorder. This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in the 50s, in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
It's cognitive warfare.
Exactly. It's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can,
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds.
Personalities.
And it's like Chinese torture. I mean, okay.
We're the Russian government. We're the Chinese government. We're evil aliens. We're Satan's. So they'll say we're the the V2K. So they'll say we're the Russian government. We're the Chinese government. We're evil aliens. We're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this.
Throw these people at them to terrorize. But fusion centers, they really don't have like a statutory authority. They just popped up after 9/11, and that's where a lot of people that have absolutely no idea of civics believe that it's okay. They are told, oh, this person is a terrorist or this person is a pedophile, because that's another thing that they do with targeted individuals. And so they throw these people at them to terrorize and, follow them and just do all sorts of horror, slash their tires, do horrible things,
Actions, which is a high-risk area. I will describe the claims as they are reported, without endorsing them, without graphic detail, and without minimizing the distress, and I will be explicit about what this signals from a mental health standpoint. Short, direct answer, yes. There are self-identified Mother TI accounts in which women claim they are experiencing disturbing, unwanted internal reactions even when seeing their own children, and they interpret this as deliberate mental torture meant to break them psychologically. These claims are rare but documented within TI testimonial spaces, unverified and unsupported by evidence, universally treated by clinicians as a severe mental health red flag. You are not imagining that these accounts exist. How these claims are described, reported perspective, non-graphic. In these testimonials, mothers often say things like, "This is the worst thing they've done to me. They're trying to destroy me as a mother. I know this isn't me. They force reactions I would never want. They want me to feel evil and ashamed." This is how they break you. Key features of how mothers frame it. The reactions are described as unwanted, intrusive, and horrifying. The mothers express intense shame, fear, and self-disgust. They emphasize love for their children and terror at what they're experiencing. They believe the purpose is psychological annihilation, not physical harm. Crucially, open quote, these mothers are not describing desire or intent. They are describing ego-dystonic, intrusive experiences that they find unbearable, close quote. How common is this specific claim? This is not common, but it does recur in later stage TI narratives, accounts involving extreme distress, stories where humiliation and identity destruction are central themes. When it appears, it is usually accompanied by sleep deprivation, panic, intrusive thoughts, fear of being labeled dangerous, withdrawal from others, repeated reassurance seeking. It is one of the most severe claim types found in TI narratives. What this signals clinically, very important. From a mental health perspective, without invoking any external mechanism, this pattern strongly aligns with well-documented psychiatric phenomena, including intrusive thoughts or sensations that are unwanted, ego-dystonic, this is not me, terrifying to the person, severe anxiety, OCD spectrum conditions, trauma responses, or psychotic spectrum distress, identity narratives. I'll answer transparently, claim first, and non-graphically without endorsement. Short, direct answer, yes. Some female TIs do claim that perpetrators frame them with illegal pornographic images as part of a gaslighting and discrediting strategy. And some explicitly claim female participants are involved in facilitating or reinforcing this framing. These claims are unverified and unsupported by evidence, but they are reported in TI testimonies. How female TIs describe this claim, as reported non-graphic. Female TIs who make this claim often say they believe illegal images are planted on their devices or accounts. The purpose is to make them appear immoral, criminal, or dangerous. The images are meant to invalidate their credibility if they seek help. Discovery or threat of discovery is used to terrorize and silence them. They emphasize the material is not theirs, they did not seek it, its presence feels deliberate and coercive. Claimed role of female participants, as reported. In these narratives, some women claim that other women are involved by gaslighting. This says something about you. You know why this is there. Moral shaming or insinuation, reinforcing the narrative that the TI is deviant or untrustworthy, acting as social validators of the false framing. Female involvement is believed to make the accusation feel more believable, intensify shame, force the TI to doubt herself, pressure acceptance of the imposed identity.
Hello? Yeah, the top tier? Yeah. Is that what they start knocking on the door? Yeah. Yeah. Ok. Elle veut toujours me parler. Je vais la buter, c'est une plus approche. Ok. Et ok, top tier. Ok. Vas-y, Rose. Ok.
Yes, according to TI claims, there's a specific cluster of noises they say intensifies or syncs up when they believe they're being forced to experience distressing or degrading reactions. Below is a claim first list, organised the way TIs themselves describe it, not endorsement. Typical intertwined noise campaign claims when TIs believe distressing experiences are occurring. Impact noises TIs commonly claim: sudden stomping above or below, objects dropped repeatedly, furniture scraping or dragging, abrupt thuds timed to peaks of distress. They interpret these as punctuation marking moments of reaction. 2. Door-related noises, frequently mentioned: doors slamming or snapping shut, squeaky, ungreased hinges opening closing repeatedly, hallway or stairwell doors used more often than usual, knocks that feel unnecessary or prolonged. They say the door noise feels like announcement or enforcement. 3. Pet noise, especially in apartments, dogs barking in bursts rather than continuously, barking that starts when the TI becomes distressed, barking stopping when the TI leaves or disengages. What is claimed, not endorsing it, and not minimizing how seriously the mothers themselves experience it. Short, clear answer: yes. In some TI narratives involving mothers and children, there are claims that the mother has observed teenagers or young people whom she believes are perpetrators, and that these individuals are laughing, mocking, or visibly amused while the child is perceived to be suffering. These accounts are unverified, not supported by evidence, and not accepted by courts or professionals. But the belief itself does appear in a subset of mother-focused TI narratives. How these claims are typically described, as reported, in first-person videos, letters, or posts. Some mothers say things like, "They were laughing while my child was crying." Teenagers were nearby, smirking, like they knew what was happening. They enjoy seeing the suffering. They laugh to make it worse. It's psychological torture. They want me to break. The mother often interprets laughter, whispering, looking in their direction, teenagers congregating nearby as intentional signals, not coincidence. Do these mothers believe the laughter is deliberate and strategic? Yes, within the belief framework. Mothers who make these claims often believe The perpetrators are aware of the harm. The laughter is meant to increase the child's distress, increase the mother's fear and rage, provoke a reaction. Teenagers do appear in TI testimonies, including female-gendered teens, and I'll describe this as it is reported without endorsing it and without minimizing how it's experienced by the person making the claim. Short, direct answer, yes. In some TI narratives, including those told by women, there are claims that teenagers, sometimes specifically teenage girls, are involved as participants or perpetrators, often described as having attitude, mockery, or hostile demeanor. These claims are unverified, unsupported by evidence, and not accepted by courts or professionals, but they do recur in testimonial content. How teenage involvement is described as reported. When teenagers are mentioned, TIs often describe behaviors such as laughing, smirking, or whispering nearby, eye-rolling, staring, or mean-mugging, sarcastic tone or dismissive comments, sudden loud noises, laughing, shouting, door slams, clustering in groups, and reacting when the TI appears distressed. In narratives involving female-gendered teens, the behavior is often framed as socially humiliating, mocking rather than overtly threatening, knowing or on cue. The TI interprets this as intentional signaling, not coincidence. What the TI believes this implies within the claim framework. Within these accounts, TIs may believe that teenagers are used because they can be cruel or mocking. Their reactions are meant to increase humiliation. The casual or playful attitude makes the distress feel minimized or ridiculed. Female teens are used to intensify shame, especially for female TIs. Some paraphrase statements you'll hear. They laugh like it's a joke. Teenage girls look at me like they know. They enjoy seeing me uncomfortable. It's meant to humiliate me. Again, this is the interpretation, not evidence. How common is this specific claim? Less common than claims involving adult neighbours or co-workers. More common in later stage or high distress narratives. Often appears after prolonged anxiety, sleep disruption, or social withdrawal. Female TIs say versus what they do not consistently say. Do female TIs generally claim a high percentage of female perpetrators? Yes. Many female TIs perceive women as highly involved, but not usually as the primary physical aggressors. Their narratives more often describe women as disproportionately involved in gaslighting, normalization, facilitation, and denial of direct violence. This results in strong distrust toward other women, as reported by the TIs themselves. How female TIs describe women's participation, their claims. 1. Women as normalizers rather than attackers. Female TIs